Well, hello everyone. Thank you so much for having me today. I am Devin Carter. I am the co-founder and chief operating officer of Blanket Pancakes and Syrup. I'm also joined today by my beautiful wife, Miss Marquita Carter, CEO of the company. I want to thank you so much for allowing me to present to you today. I want to tell you a little bit of information about the brand that's changed my life, changed the life of my family, and hopefully will change the life of millions of Americans. So, let me give you a little backstory about Blanket. My wife and I started the company about 7 years ago, shortly after giving birth to our youngest child. She experienced some serious health complications that fortunately made us have to radically change her diet so that she can keep her baby to full term and just maximize her optimal health. With that, though, we had to cut a lot of our favorite foods out of our diet. It was a family effort, so it seemed like we couldn't eat anything fun anymore. There was no high fructose corn syrup, very little sugar, no artificial preservatives, flavors, colors. So pretty much half the grocery shelf, well, at least 80% of the grocery shelf was just gone. It was either fruits and vegetables or nothing at all. So we quickly started trying to find ways that we could take our favorite recipes, find an all-natural alternative to them, and we stumbled upon Blanket. Now, one thing about Blanket is it's not something that was just an issue for us. We noticed that many millennials and young families who are craving more all-natural foods, they're having a problem with finding foods that not only fit that criteria, but also taste good. And I think that's the biggest thing because, we're living such a fast age. I know we're a busy family, so we don't have time to always sit and, fully prep and cook every single meal. So what we did was started with all natural ingredients. We tried to find a way that we could cut out all those additives, those fillers, and those things that really, added the convenience factor to the food and tried to take it back to the basics. With Blanket, what we did was we started with, as I said, all natural ingredients. We took out all the fillers. We focused on as minimal ingredients as possible. But what we wanted to do was also increase the nutritional value of our food. So if you've ever had our products, not only is it the most delicious pancakes you'll ever taste, but it has higher calcium, higher potassium, more natural protein, and less sodium and sugars in our pancake mix than the leading brands. Also, it's quick and easy to make. It's just add water pancake mix. So, who does it? You want a delicious breakfast in 5 minutes, right? And it's not don't just take my word for it. You could just look at our growth. So one thing about us is we started off here local in Charlotte, a couple farmers markets. I think the first one we went to was Atherton Farmers Market and a few others. But within 2 years, we quickly rose to about 2,000 stores nationwide with our branded products. We also do private label as well, where we also manufacture and produce products for restaurants and other retailers as well. On the screen, you can see a few of our partner stores, retailers that we work with. And you're probably wondering, wow, that's pretty impressive. I know, thank you so much for that. But how did you get there? Well, first we understood what the market opportunity was. When you're talking about the global pancake market, it's about a $2 billion industry. 211 million Americans consume pancakes in this country. So there's a lot of pancake lovers, a lot of foodies like myself. But what we're doing is we're taking a service attainable market of about 200 million Americans who are focusing more on the healthier pancake options and really hyper-focusing on targeting regional consumers. So right now we're focusing on a $20 million service obtainable market that we're targeting. And we have been extremely successful hitting those numbers so far. Now, the way we've gone about our business thus far has really been focusing on trade shows, industry events, and digital marketing. During the pandemic, we really had our breakout year with the company by just doing online cooking demonstrations and quickly connecting with social media influencers and celebrities and different publications picked us up. But since then, we've been much more intentional about getting out and marketing for more in-store retail opportunities. Now, I would also like to mention that fortunately we've had to do this on a shoestring budget. My wife and I were self-funded when we first got started, and there was but so far we could take the company, which is why we're here today, because we understand that building the right team and really focusing on growth is most important. So utilizing my experience I've had in corporate America, working as a data strategy consultant, having a lot of experience and purchasing and utilizing big data for different insurance companies. My wife, who is a teacher by trade, she has always been someone who's been very passionate about food and family. But we've been able to take that to the next level with our company and really focus in on what we can do to make this vision we have a reality. Now, again, we've been able to do great thus far in achieving about 3,000 stores in terms of market penetration between our branded and our private label products. But what we're looking to do is grow even larger. And in order to do that, we need to raise capital. If you can see on the screen here, we have a breakdown of what we plan to utilize these funds for. A large portion of that is going to be for marketing and sales initiatives. In-store marketing is huge in our industry, and we want to make sure that we have the opportunity to reach as many customers as possible. We know we have the best pancake mix out there, but we got to get people tasting it. Another thing is building the team and building the infrastructure around that, supporting an increase in production capacity by making sure we have inventory on hand when those orders come in, that we can be able to fulfill those orders, and then being able to increase the operation and administrative costs. Thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to talking more about Blanket. No problem. I didn't think it was on.
It turned off. Don't worry.
Okay.
He's going to ask and then you can show hand it to you.
Sure.
Should I wait until the mic? No, we're good. Devin, first of all, congrats on that distribution. Super impressive. If you've done that without raising capital, it's really impressive. I know getting into stores like Food Lion, Walmart is not an easy task. So kudos to you, and Amazon for that matter. That's really impressive. Is it true you haven't raised money to this point?
So we have raised very little money since when we initially got started. By the time we had 2,000 stores, we had not raised $1 yet. Wow. Everything was just our own internal capital that we utilized. We have since brought on some investors, and we also have a host of advisors and contractors we worked with. But for the first few years, it was just really my wife and I.
Yeah. Congrats on that.
Thank you.
So a couple things. This is all about marketing and production and distribution.
Yes.
Those are going to be your biggest challenges. On your pie chart that you had there, I think most of the capital that you would use from an investment are going to go to marketing and production.
Yes.
So that's good to see. Can you tell us a little bit about your production? Are you working with a co-packer, or how are you producing the syrup and the mix?
Sure. So with our production, what we have done is initially we started off, doing small batches, going to local commercial kitchens here in the area. But in order for us to scale to meet the demand of nationwide retailers, we had to utilize co-packers and co-manufacturing facilities. So what we do is we have several facilities that we work with scattered geographically throughout the nation so that we can meet the demands of our customer and be able to deliver to them as soon as possible.
And where's your inventory held?
So we do have a small warehouse here in Charlotte, and we also hold it regionally depending on where our facilities are, keeping them close to our customers for quicker delivery.
Okay, great. Well, that's good. I mean, so at this point, it's all about scaling your business, putting some capital into the business so that you'll be able to further scale. But obviously, it's those three areas: marketing, distribution, and production, as to where your investment's going to go. So I think you're off to a great start. I'm super impressed with what you've been able to do without raising capital. A couple things. So you'll find with Daniel and I, Daniel loves to come into these completely cold, never even has heard, and I do a little bit of research ahead of time. So I did see that you have bundles available on Amazon, that type of thing. Yes. But I did see that you were stock out on a lot of your products also. So yes. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes. So this year we had to kind of take a step back. We've been very successful in achieving our initial goal of market penetration, getting in as many stores as possible, but we have to quickly understand that this was so far we can go on our own. What we've decided to do was strategically kind of slow ourselves down a bit so that we can get ready for, this is coming up into our busiest season of the year. Fall, everybody gets home, and holiday season, people are gonna get home and start eating and cooking more. So we've decided to take a step back a bit. We're currently in the process of growing our team. We're going to be onboarding to a few new retailers as well. and really just focus on getting our team kind of up to speed. So if you noticed in our presentation, we mentioned we have a controller CFO. That's someone we just brought on recently. We also have a marketing exec that we're working with and a few other folks. So we're trying to give an opportunity for everyone to get on board before we continue on with the online sales. We're also revamping our website as well because we're focusing on becoming a more SaaS-driven e-commerce platform. I mean, offering subscription-based services is something our customers have asked for a while, which is also part of the reason why we are raising, because we want to make sure we have the team behind that work to support that.
Devin, I will add the congratulations to Bootstrap to get to the point where you guys, phenomenal job, very impressed. I'm going to come at this. This was a practice run for a funding pitch, right? Yeah. So I'm going to focus on that. Love the intro, right? I always think it's really valuable. So everybody who's thinking about doing a pitch, listen to, personalizing it. Why am I in this, right? So doing that personal story up front was great. Keep doing that. That's good. The all-natural food tastes good. I would love to get something a little more concise there around why that's, and again, I think you can take it from your story to the transition of why that's important and why a lot of people care, and maybe get that a little bit more concrete as you go, because it gives you the rationale for why my product versus the whole bunch of other things that are out there. The focus on the growth, 4 stores to 2,000 stores, and your graphic there was phenomenal. Keep that slide. That was a good one. I'd probably spend a little more time of it. The obligatory total addressable market was fine. Again, as investors see those all the time, it's good to have it. I wouldn't spend too much time on it. I did like the fact that you took it down to this is a segment of the market that we're focusing on, right? So you knew what your target was. The financials. I know you did a little bit on the financials. You caught margin, and again, given that this was a funding pitch, I would spend a little more time on that. There was stuff in there about margins that I think were actually pretty decent, and I emphasized that a little bit more. Your use of funds chart was great, but I'm sitting this close to the slide, and even, I know I'm old and have glasses and all that, I still had trouble reading it. So, make font size a little bigger for when you're pitching. And on that use of funds, what I'd really have loved to have seen, and I'm this is from years in the banking industry. I want to, if you're an investor looking to fund, it's team, right? So you address that. That was good. And then next, it is the, what's going to drive revenue. What do those margins look like? And I would have loved to see a forecast. I'm raising $2 million. We're spending the bulk of that on marketing and operations. What is that going to drive in terms of additional growth for the company going forward? So I think it's important to add that if this is really your core of an investor pitch, that's what they're going to care about. But otherwise, great job. And I'm trying to see if I had other questions here. Well, let me let you address some of those.
Sure. Thank you very much for your comments. That's something that we certainly talked about. One of the biggest things we had to face with when scaling up is making sure that, marginally, our margins were in line with our growth. We need to make sure we have sustainable margins. That's something we've been focusing on addressing and making sure that, we have the plan and path moving forward. One thing we do have in our, I would say, a longer version of our pitch deck, being that it was a 6-minute presentation, I didn't know how much I could try to squeeze in and address. But we do have our forecast in there, and I would be happy to share that with you, for your critique. And really talking about exactly what our plan and path is moving forward. We really need to focus on growing that team and building the infrastructure around that. Because again, as I mentioned, it's really been my wife and I up to this point. Now, I like to think we're pretty good at what we do, but there's so much 2 people can do. And that's why it is important that we do want to focus on the team, but also focusing on growing the revenue. And that's the largest piece in there in terms of the marketing and sales. Whenever we show to a trade show, whenever we get an opportunity to present, we usually walk away with a new customer, but it's not enough just to be in a store. It's about being successful wherever we're placing our products. And in order to do that, you have to have the capital behind any marketing, in-store marketing, advertising initiatives that you need to do. So that's really where the focus on it is, and making sure you have the right people in place to manage those relationships with those retailers as well as our e-commerce platform as we continue to grow those areas.
So Devin, you're raising capital
Yes.
currently. What's the plan from there? Do you all want to continue growing this business? Are you looking for an exit down the road?
We are looking into and considering an exit. That's something that we want to have a really thorough conversation with our investors about, our partners. I would like to say that we are a food manufacturing company first, not a marketing company. So we have constantly been working on innovation, introducing new products, and we have additional product lines that we would like to release. In addition to different flavors, custom flavors, we're going to be adding into next year. So we want to definitely grow in that area. We believe that blanket pancakes and syrup has the potential of becoming a nationwide brand, becoming a household name. So we want to get the business to that place where we can allow it to really grow and come into fruition in and of itself. But we also understand that, having a business is like having a baby. At some point, you do have to allow it to grow and take its own wings. And I don't necessarily need to be there at the end of the business cycle, but I certainly want to make sure that we stay there to at least get it to where it needs to be before we look into considering any acquisition from any other firms.
One thing to think about, just one other comment. One thing to think about with raising capital, there are going to be some investors that are going to be gun shy for a husband and wife team. So just keep that in mind. So I think if you were able to present a succession plan, whatever that may be, it's something that you may want to have in your back pocket when you're pitching, because some investors will shy away from that.
Thank you very much for that feedback. That is something that we are concerned with as well. Now, I have a wonderful time working with my wife, but I think that to really alleviate those concerns, that's why we are so focused on growing the team and removing ourselves from a large part of the business. We want to focus on continuing growing the business, allowing other folks to take part in the day-to-day. When we had our first big order with Food Lion, I was literally out there the one pushing the truck and loading the pallets. I can't do that if I plan on growing this business further. So making sure that we have the right leadership in place, so there's more of a diversity of opinion and thought in the room when we're making decisions, but also making sure we have the right people on the team to really push the vision forward. And we can step back and instead of working in the business, be more the founders and help lead the vision.
Sounds great. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you so